Hello, Gummers, and welcome to Fergie's Gum. My name's Nathan Irvine, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Paul Cropper. As usual, another busy show that we've got to be talking about all types of things related to Manchester United. But first, a bit of breaking news. Sorry, mate, I caught you off guard there. We will come to you in a second, but there is. I wanted to get your initial reaction off this because Alex Scott, as we're starting to record this, has just apparently turned down a second contract offer from Bournemouth. Just come through. Sky Sports reporting on it. Fabrizio Romano, lots of other outlets as well. Seems like he does not want to stay at Bournemouth past his current contract, which runs out in 2028, I think. Now, two things here to consider. He's got that long contract, so it doesn't end next year. It ends the year after. And Bournemouth have actually said that they're happy for it to wind down rather than sell him at a cut price fee this summer. What do you make of that, Mr. Paul Cropper? Do you think that we're now at the stage where Alex Scott basically has to push for a move?
I've read this morning that he's given United the go-ahead that he wants to move to United, which is what United have been waiting for all these players to do, and it just say, "I want to move to United." So that's what I've heard. I also read this morning that Bournemouth have said 65 million is the price, and United are quite happy with that price, and seems quite fair to me. That price, 65 million. Bournemouth won't want to run it down because next year you'll probably get 25 million. And then you get nothing year after. So 65 million, I think the clubs will come to an agreement on that. If he's giving United the go-ahead, as the reports are saying this morning, then yeah, I think it's a great time.
I do think as well that Chelsea, Arsenal, they're probably going to come in and bid for him and, have a bit more money to spare. When we'll obviously talk about Manchester United's finances later on in the show, but right now, if anyone, like Spurs did with Matheus Fernandes, if anyone comes in with a bit more money that's over that 65 million valuation, as you just said, I saw 80 million somewhere else. But if someone comes in and goes, right, we'll pay that, United are stuck, and then they have to move further down the list. I do want to talk about that specifically later on in the show, so do stick around for that. Hit like, hit subscribe, and do make sure that you're following us because we have got lots of things to get into, mate. Lots of things. First thing that's not exactly exciting. Manchester United 0, Wrexham 1, first pre-season game. Did you watch it?
No, it was little. We were out for little one's birthday. I didn't even watch that third place playoff thing, England game. I just fed up with it. I know I was out. I watched the highlights, the extended highlights, and I'm kind of glad I didn't watch it, to be honest with you. Good to see some of the kids, but it was very, very slow, very, very friendly-esque. It was a bit weird, the atmosphere as well. It's like a really empty stadium as well. It's a bit strange. But yeah, go on.
They were saying that I think Andy Mitten was saying, because he was reporting on it for Talk of the Devils and the Athletic as well. He said that even though it was a friendly between Wrexham and Manchester United, the tickets at the Helsinki Olympic Stadium were extortionate. So I think it was a fairly high price, which priced a lot of people out. I mean, I could go on for forever and talk about ticketing prices, especially coming off the back of the World Cup, where I saw a video the other day talking, like, people saying how much they spent on the World Cup travel. Some were paying 10 grand for tickets, 250 grand total for 3 games, like crazy numbers. But a friendly in Helsinki, to get those fans into the stadium, you should be having it at a price that's reasonable, surely. Well, but anyway, they didn't miss anything.
No, they did. You should have all the kids going in free, shouldn't you? Just fill it full of kids. It's free. I find it ridiculous. Money. Football's gone mad with money on it, and we all, like you said, we're frustrated with all the shirt prices, the ticket prices, everything just going through the roof. So it's the way the world's going, unfortunately. But yeah, back to the game. I thought there wasn't many standout performances. Some of the kids did well. Fletcher did well. Aidan Heaven did well to recover from a tackle, didn't he? That he gave away, made a mistake. Keepers changed at halftime. A lot of changes at halftime, which there will be in friendlies. Good to see Wheatley get a bit of a run. But yeah, there wasn't much. United controlled the second half really when the kids came on, and I thought that they just seemed quite happy just to get a good run out, and that's all it was, unfortunately. But yeah, not much going on.
can't read too much into the first game of pre-season, especially when there's so many players that still yet to come back to Carrington to get onto the pitch. The one thing that I thought was that, yes, you're right, it did change when the kids came on, but there just seemed to be a lack of cohesion to that first side that went out there. I know there was a few players that had come in. I think Andre Santos came in, Tyler Fletcher was there as well, but it didn't really feel like there was anything really knitting it together, and that was slightly worrying. I know they've still got to get the ring rust off. Slightly worrying considering that they've been in that squad together for the best part of 18 months, 2 years, most of these lads.
It's not just that. It was when you look at the starting 11, it was quite a strong team, wasn't it? You know, Lenny
Mm.
Oro, Maguire, Shaw, Heaven, and then you got the new lad Santos, Xerxes, Bumo. These are lads that are in our starting 11, and they didn't look great. They didn't look sharp, like you said. They didn't look like creating anything. Didn't looked average. If I'm honest, we have first game back average, but they've had what? If some of them have had a World Cup, they shouldn't be lacking fitness, should they? They shouldn't be lacking sharpness. It was just lacked imagination. Xerxes really struggled up front again, but I think that's a common theme that we might have to get used to.
Well, let's talk about him because Joshua Xerxes is, I mean, he seems like a spare part at the moment. I don't want to just base this entire game off of whether or not Manchester United should keep him or sell him, but in against Wrexham in the 46 minutes that he was on the pitch, he had 0 shots on target. I think he had 1 touch in the opponent's box. It's not good enough to be a Manchester United striker to be having that type of output. When the ball gets slung into the box, you need someone that's going to be there to put it in. And I know we've talked about this previously, but of the players that should have gone out on loan and maybe got a full-time move, Højlund was probably the one that you would have wanted to keep at Manchester United to compete with Sesko. I know he's not great either, but Xerxes, I think towards the end of this transfer window, I do think we'll see some movement on him because he just does not look good enough for Manchester United, does he?
No, he doesn't. But what was frustrating for me is if you've got your opportunity in a friendly to show, even if you've only got 45 minutes, show something. Show that you want to be. You know, you are good enough to be there in that United shirt. And some of the kids showed a bit more endeavour than him. But that's the player he is. He's quite languid and laid back, but he doesn't have a position either. He's not a forward. He's not a striker. Not really an attacking midfielder. He's a tough player profile to find a position for. You probably have to build your front line around him and let him do what he wants and drop in deep. But it doesn't seem to work for this United team, does it? So it's but you say movement on him after that 45 minutes. Who's going to say, oh, yeah, we'll pay 25, 30 million for him? There's not going to be many around Europe who will. Better options. Frustrating.
That's very true. Very true. Andre Santos made his debut after his move from Chelsea as well. I've seen, I didn't watch the game, but I've seen a highlight reel and I've seen a low light reel. So, I mean, somewhere in the middle is the player that Andre Santos was against Wrexham for the first half. Of the highlight reel, there was lots of like forward passing. His first instinct is to pick the ball up and play it forward, which is great, is exactly what Manchester United need. I didn't see much of him switching the play, which I guess he's going to be left to someone like Yuri Tillemans to do that Casemiro role from last season, where he's switching it out to the wings. The lowlights, I mean, the worst thing that I can say about that is people in the comments referring to him as the Brazilian Manuel Ugarte, which nobody ever wants that tag. He just seemed to be getting in around players, but not quite getting the ball bouncing off his first touch, a little bit trampoline-esque. Obviously, again, as we started this segment, you can't really read much into this, but we can only talk about what we see. Did you see anything that gave you positive vibes about Andre Santos?
I saw that, like you say, he likes to move the ball quickly, and his first touch passing seemed all right when he's just like a bounce pass. He seems to be one of those players that likes to just bounce it straight into a forward. Other than that, no, he made a bit of a nuisance of himself, but you'd expect that from a centre midfielder. 50 million.
I'm going to ask you a question, mate. Are you ready for it?
Never. Go on.
No. okay, I'm going to ask it anyway. Does Manchester United currently have the biggest depth of left wingers in the Premier League right now? Now, let me read out the names that we've currently got in that position that could potentially play out there. We've got Matheus Cunha, Bruno Fernandes at a push. We've got Patrick Dorgu, Noah Ajayi, JJ Gabriel, and we've just signed, we was trying to work out how to pronounce his name, Tynan Thompson from Spurs for 4 million. And Shea Lacey, I guess, is another one that can play there.
Right winger,
And
but you miss him.
no, I'm not. I'm purposely leaving him until last. Marcus Rashford.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm purposely leaving him until last because we still don't know what's going to happen. We're going to talk more about Marcus Rashford at the end of the show. However, what are you thinking about that depth? Because that seems like a position that suddenly went from, well, that's dreadful, we've got no one that can play out there, to, oh, wow, we've got loads of options.
Oh, there's loads of options. Whether they're good enough to win you the Premier League is another question, isn't it? So there is depth there, isn't there? But a lot of it is promise. For people that have already let us down. I'm just looking at and unknowns. The main ones would be Cunha and Dorgu, wouldn't they? They'd be the lads that you'd be like, yeah, that's our left wing options there. And then when you throw in the likes of Marcus Rashford, but like you say, you don't know what's going on there. There is depth, but I've said we need another left winger. But I think that probably relates to Cunha maybe being the backup striker or maybe moving into there. But then you got Dorgu there. If he gets injured again, what do we do? Do we then bring in one of the kids? It's a good option. But are the kids ready for that step up? We don't know. I was hoping to see a couple of them at the weekend, but I think JJ Gabriel got extended leave, didn't he? I think Ajayi did as well. You know my thoughts on Ajayi, Nathan. I think he's ready now. I do. I think he's brilliant. He's outstanding. And then the new kid that's come in, a bit of an unknown, felt like a rush one, didn't it? Get him through the door. Yeah. He's available. Get him in there now. We watched a bit of him. Can't say I saw a lot of him in the U team for Spurs. I think I maybe saw a highlight last year, but didn't really take much notice. Didn't think there was an option there. Reminds me of Anthony Martial, when the way he plays football, that inside forward, attacking, runs the same. He has the same gait as Martial and runs, attacks the ball. And lots of people coming out saying he's promising, but it's promising again. And he's coming, 4 million plus 4 million add-ons? Ineos, just get him in. But there was a story that unfortunately lost his father, and the family wanted to relocate and get out of London, and that's the reason why they've chose to move up north. And Ineos have seen an opportunity there. I don't think he'll be coming in to go into the first team, my own opinion, because I think there's probably, like you say, 6 players there ahead of him at the minute at the club.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because the reports that was coming out of Manchester United in the last day or so, when the deal was announced for Thompson, was that he's going into the squad to face Rosenborg on the weekend. Well, on Friday. So that's going to be another friendly that they're playing in Norway, I think. Yeah, Rosenborg's Norway, isn't it? Or is it Sweden?
Yep.
Sorry, big questions.
He's got me questioning everything.
The big questions. So yeah, he's apparently going to get a chance. He's going to come into the team and get a chance. What we don't want is for these young lads to have the chance that, and we talked about this last week, like with Chido Obi. You know, when he came in and everyone's like, brilliant, yeah, he's doing great. And then he disappears and he's probably going out on loan now. You want to see them have that opportunity, but where they're coming in behind someone that is established in that position, behind Cunha, behind Patrick Dorgu. I know that's even a stretch to even put Paddy Dorgu at left wing, behind Rashford. You don't want to burn them out too quickly. But in terms of the depth that they've got, I would say that that's a really strong lineup of potential and solid players that you've got that can play that left wing. The one issue that I think, especially when you look at like a Bruno or a Cunha playing there, you lose that pace. And I think if United are going to do anything next season, they're going to need, same as on the right side with Ahmad, they need pace going down, flying down the sides, and they're going to need that on the left as well. Rashford had a standout game against France. I know they were basically, it was like an all-star game. It's like NBA all-star game where both sides couldn't be bothered anymore. Not much tracking back, and just shoot from anywhere like Declan Rice. But Rashford had a decent game, and he looked quick. He looked like he was taking advantage of the action that was in front of him. Maybe it was to get a move. I don't know. Again, we'll talk about that later. But in terms of the left wing options, who would you play there? Out of those that we just talked about, who would be your first one that you would play there at the start of the season?
I think it's Cunha's position to lose, isn't it? So there was a few times last year when he got dropped for Dorgu, and then Cunha came on and he made was it the Arsenal game. I think Dorgu started, didn't he? And then Cunha came on and scored the winner. I think it's those two are the main lads there. But then when you throw in, what do you do with Marcus Rashford then? And then how many times do you give JJ Gabriel a game? How many times do you give Ajayi get a game as well? So I know what you're saying. It looks like there's 7 lads there that could do a job. Probably only 2 or 3 could do a job in the Premier League or in the Champions League. And that's the standard we're looking at. But now you're looking at, do these kids all get in each other's way for the path towards the first team football? And does that frustrate some of them? If you're JJ Gabriel now and you say, well, I've already had Ajayi, I've had to try and get out the first team. And they did actually move JJ Gabriel to a false 9 to play the pair of them. Now you've got this other lad coming in who, no doubt, he's talented, really, really talented, obviously, by the reports and when you look at him. But does that then, is it competition for the lads, or do they look at it as frustrating? Well, they just brought somebody else in my position there now. There's already Rashford ahead of me. I'm not going to get ahead of him. There's already this. Be interesting to see how these lads respond to that. But you're at the biggest club in the world. You're not just going to waltz into the first team and actually position for the next 10 years. Interesting.
I think that's the healthiest thing, though, isn't it? Having that competition down any of the positions, in the team. You want to have as many players as you can that are stacked in those positions. It's probably impossible to keep them all happy, but at least the ones that are going to be complaining that, right, I'm going to leave them, then you get to know, are those the players that Manchester United want to keep? If you want to leave, then off you go. Like, I'm sure some of those young lads, Ajayi, JJ Gabriel, Thompson, they might not all be there for Manchester United like in 5 years' time. But while you've got that competition, you always should be seeing the best of those players once they get onto the pitch. So it was an interesting position for me, because the reason why I thought about that is because left back, and that was something that me and you talked about for a long time, and I was always of the opinion that left back is fine. Now we're looking at Dorgu playing as a standard left winger or right winger. He played right wing for Denmark in a couple of friendlies before the World Cup. It looks like Lewis Hall is the one that they're definitely going to go all in on. So you need someone, Lewis Hall, then another person in front of them, and it's all to play for. So I just think that left wing position, probably the strongest that Manchester United have got currently in terms of positions, in terms of being stacked. And then the rest of the team, I mean, it's potluck. Who are you gonna fit where? From the positive of left wing to the negative of centre back, we need to talk about whether or not Manchester United do need to purchase an established centre back this summer. The reason being, Lisandro Martinez in the World Cup final limped off. Looks like he's going to be set for a spell on the sidelines again, which is not great news, considering he's going to be out for 3 weeks anyway after the World Cup. Matheus Cunha isn't even back on the pitch yet, I believe. I think he's doing individual training to try and get back up after his back surgery. We've got Maguire, who's winding down his career now. Still reliable, but I don't think you can be having him as a starter if you've got any aspirations to win the Champions League or the Premier League next season. Lenny Yoro's still very raw. He played right back for Manchester United at the weekend against Wrexham. And then probably, and this is mad, but Aidan Heaven's probably the only established centre-back that we have got right now, that where you would go, all right, yeah, he's ready. Yeah, I'll start him this week, but who's gonna sit next to him? So with that in mind, I mean, I probably answered the question myself, but do Manchester United need another centre back?
Yeah, I think we needed one last year, didn't we? There's a lot of unconvincing things about our centre back pairing now, isn't there? We don't know, like you said, we don't know what's wrong with him. We know it's a back injury. We don't know how mysterious it is. Lisandro Martinez can't be relied upon again anymore. So it was always going to happen, wasn't it? He was always going to play for Argentina, no issues. And then, I mean, feel sorry for the lad. He's obviously been injured in a World Cup final, he's had to go off, and that's an awful thing for anyone to have to do. But he's just blighted by injuries and niggles, and we can't. If
Yeah.
you're trying to win things as a football club, you can't rely on these. And we've done it. We've done it, haven't we? For years and years, we've relied upon players, and they just break down. Sure, I had a good season last season, but we've had that with him as well. You're not going to be able to move them on, so you have to stick by them. I hope they come through the injuries, but yes, to answer your question, Nathan, we do need a centre back. Somebody like as Lotterbeck from Dortmund, Van der Ven, somebody like that. I think you're quite right in what you said. Aiden Heaven is probably he would be the man who I would start, which is once again, as you said, he's mental, but I think he's probably our best centre half at the minute.
Mm.
Him and Maguire, it looked a bit shaky to be honest with you at weekend, whether they were just a bit off the pace. But Lenny Orro's another one, unconvincing. Another one. I know he played out of position, but he was unconvincing last season, wasn't he? And I think we expected a lot more from him. And it's like that with Spurs signing someone like Senesi on a free, it's frustrating. It's another one where you thought we could have just got that lad. Surely, if United went in there and offered the same money as Spurs, that was an easy one to do, which we said. Yes,
And Van Hecker as well.
You know, Van Heck, exactly. Yeah, there are options there for centre back, and I don't know. I don't think these lads that we've got are good enough to be where we want to be. Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, your mate Cuti Romero has been linked to Manchester United after the centre back pairing that he had with Martinez at the World Cup. But I think any move on that would have to be reliant on whether or not Manchester United want to keep Lisandro Martinez. As you say, he keeps getting injured. He keeps having these niggles. He wants a new contract. But then can you give him a new contract when he's not actually on the pitch? You don't just want to reward people for the sake of them being there. If they're playing every week, sure. If they're available every week, sure. But if they're constantly on the medical table, probably not. I don't think you can. So Romero was one of the names that was mentioned, but I mentioned Mickey van der Ven, and I was chatting to someone the other day about it, and it's like, well, Van der Ven's probably going to play a left back for Spurs, and I don't think Manchester United can afford him. And I think if Spurs wanted to just tie him down, they'd just give him more money than what Manchester United could afford. So I don't think he would be a massive option, but it has got me slightly worried looking at the depth at centre back. We went from beginning of last season talking about Lenny Orro and potentially Aiden Heaven having a decades-long partnership at centre back and establishing themselves. I'm not saying that they should have been straight in the team and playing last season, that they should have been the first choice centre back pairing, but you would have thought that they'd have moved up in tandem. So they'd have gone, the more time that they had, and then they get that understanding together, and then they create that partnership is what we're all expecting, right? But the over-reliance on Harry Maguire, slightly worrying. Martinez came back and was playing great, and then obviously gets injured again. And it just feels like it's Groundhog Day for that centre-back pairing. So I think you're right. Is Bastoni still available? Or is he still about to be banged up for some sort of naughty business over in Italy?
Yeah, well, you talk about names like that, but we can't afford them, can we, Nathan? From the evidence we've got from this transfer window so far from Manchester United is we can't afford to compete for these top players. We can't afford to give them the wages that they demand and they probably deserve if you look at world football. So no, we have to look elsewhere. We're going to have to look in the basements for a centre back that obviously isn't there. And we need somebody who's Champions League level. You have to pay him Champions League money. Ineos seems to be scraping round, mate, with these penny pinching, and it's not going to end well, is it? There's not many centre backs in the world with the ability on the ball like Lisandro Martinez, is there? So he is a big miss to United's football. To when he is fit and when he does play, I've always thought, what a footballer! He's not the biggest. But he makes up for that with his quality, and I think we've seen that in the World Cup as well. So he is a big miss, and for you to go and replace that, which is what we're talking about, go and replacing your top centre back, as you've just said with Mickey Van der Ven, you're talking 80 million, and then you're talking 250 grand a week. Ineos are not going to pay that, and you are right in saying Aidan Heaven and Lenny Oro should be our centre back pairing, but when they've played together, have you been convinced? I've been
Exactly.
convinced with Aidan Heaven. I think he's done very, very well for what I expected. But those two kids are not Champions League level, are they? They're not going to get us through to the next round, and they're not going to compete for a title. It's not good enough in that position, Nathan.
I think it's super difficult for United to be able to convince anyone to come into that team now while they have got an established Lisandro Martinez, a Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw can play there. And then the succession plan would be to have Lenny Yoro, to have Aidan Heaven. So whoever comes in, it would need, as we just said a second ago, it would need for someone like Martinez to leave. Harry Maguire's just signed a new contract, right? He's got a contract extension. So he's obviously sticking around. It would need Manchester United to go, do you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. We're going to have to let you go, Martinez. And I think you could see him turning up somewhere in Spain, I imagine. You could see him playing for Atletico Madrid or someone like that. But would they bid for a player that's had so many injuries? Would they take that risk on him? I just don't know. Manchester United would. They're the type of people that would. We did it with Rafa Varane. We'd take a chance on someone that was perpetually injured. But it's a struggle to find a centre back that's going to come in and immediately lift that Manchester United team. And while we are talking about where Manchester United are and where we are in terms of Ineos's ability to be able to bid for players and to pay those wages, I think it's worth having a little stop here so that we can go in depth in the next segment. Okay, I don't want this to turn into a misery show about Manchester United. There's enough misery going around in the world to be getting upset about 11 grown men on a pitch and not doing what they're supposed to do, or losing to Wrexham, as the case may be. But there was an interesting side of or school of thought into what Manchester United are currently doing in the transfer market. We've talked about it throughout this show. We've talked about how we can't compete with Spurs on salary. We can't compete with these other teams on transfer fees. And as Manchester United fans, even as recently as a couple of episodes ago, me and you were talking that they still need to go and sign someone that is world class, especially for the midfield positions. Yeah. So now I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. I'm not saying that this is the right way or the wrong way with things, but have Ineos kind of fooled us into believing that what they're serving up is actually tasty? Because we've gone from chasing Matheus Fernandes, Elliot Anderson, Tchouaméni,
Tonali.
to signing Yuri Tillemans and Andre Santos. One player who's 29 and we've just given him a 5-year contract, which is, fine. He's a good player, very good, Yuri Tillemans. Andre Santos, Prem proven, not entirely sure. Lots of promise, as we talked about with the left wing situation. Lots of promise and potential there. But now we're being told that not being told, but now we're looking at Tielemans and Santos and going, yeah, okay, yeah, good business, Ineos, well done. This is top business. But for me personally, I get that same ick when we sold Ronaldo and we used that money to get, well, you tell me, who did we get with that Ronaldo money?
Obertan. We'll stick him out there. Michael Owen with one leg and Antonio Valencia. For 12 million, was it we got him for?
Yeah. Something like that. Again, but that's the vibes that I'm getting from this. And I know it's wrong to judge these players right now and say, they're not what Manchester United need. They could develop into exactly what we need. Yuri Tillemans is a leader. He's a superb player. don't doubt him at all. Andre Santos, potential. That's what we're banking 50 million on. Absolute potential. But are we being a bit too lenient on Ineos, or is this actually good business?
I think the Tielemans one is good business. We don't know with the Santos one. We're being told by other people, aren't we, that this is a good buy for United. But you look at that transfer window of Carl Darlow, Yuri Tielemans, Andre Santos, Tynan Thompson. Tynan? We'll go with Tynan. That's what, 5 out of 10 for me? It's not what we need, is it? It's not good enough. I think the word that you use as a United fan, or people use around the world is marquee, and none of them are marquee signings. They're squad players. Let's be honest, they are squad players. We've gone and took one of Villa's centre midfielders. Arguably, they're not happy about him going, but is he their best midfielder? Possibly, but you've also got Rodgers, who's probably their best midfielder. Then you've got Onana, who's just as good. So we've took a midfielder from somebody else who's not marquee. Good squad player. I'm not saying that it's not a good signing. I think it's very, very poor from Ineos, this transfer window. I do. And I think what we're doing as United fans, I especially am doing, and we keep talking about it, is there's more coming. There's more coming. Summit's coming. So they're going to do something. And I think we're all hanging on that thread of please do something. Please just do something. But whether that comes or not, we don't know, do we? So that's the frustrating thing about United fans. We want marquee, don't we? We're not in the market for marquee. So maybe we have to accept mediocre is a bit harsh, isn't it? Maybe we have to accept promise and potential.
Yeah, we're absolutely not at the top table anymore, but this is interesting, and I'm not doing this to hold your feet over the coals or anything like that. But last week you were saying that we didn't need a marquee signing and that we need to concentrate on where we are in the pecking order, which I agree. That's basically where Manchester United need to be now. We do live in hope. There's still plenty of time for this transfer window to unveil a Tchouaméni out of nowhere, a Belieber and someone else. Do you know what I mean? We could end up with a really good central midfielder, and we're like, well, what we're worried about? Even last season we failed upwards, missed out on Liam Delap and ended up getting Benjamin Sesko. Do you know what I mean? That's that type of signing. It can happen again. So you miss out on Elliot Anderson, you miss out on Matheus Fernandes, Sandro Tonali. Tchouaméni is still potentially out there. He's signed a new deal. Is he still in the plans? Who knows? But for me, I think that they still do need a big signing. I think they do need to make a statement. And I think, weirdly, Marcus Rashford, and we'll talk about him again later, Marcus Rashford is probably key to this. Because if he stays and that's their left wing and striker sorted, so he plays left wing and as another striker back up to Sesko, then they can spend more money on a midfielder. But I know it's like it's world football that we're talking about here. But whenever it comes to like who could potentially come in, there's only a certain few names that are on that list because every top team wants to bring them in. Everyone would have loved to assign Morgan Rodgers, and he's just gone to Chelsea for 117 million, which, and you look at their team, they're bloody stacked for number 10s. And they've gone, well, doesn't matter. We're going to sign him anyway because he's one of the world's best players. Can United do that? Can United go and spend 80, 90, 100 million on a Jude Bellingham, for example? Can they go in there and try and take a player away like that? Or is this what we are now? Are we going back to those days of a Valencia, a Michael Owen, an Obertan, a free transfer here, a bit of wheeling and dealing there? Because Tielemans and Santos do have a whiff of Valencia and Obertan about them in the way that we got them. Cheap buys, looking forward to building up the squad and building it out. But I don't know. If Tielemans was available and we knew it at the start of the transfer window and we knew what his release fee was going to be, why wasn't it triggered earlier? We'll never know that, but in the context of time and missing out on targets, can you look at this and go, we missed out on him, so now we signed him. Not sure.
Well,
Not sure.
I know what you said about last week with the marquee signing. I think what's going through my mind now is I was out for, like I said, Little Ian's birthday, and as soon as that news comes through about Morgan Rogers, there's all of us on the table, and you go, wow. So we're talking about it. We're out for it. Can you believe they just done it? Can you believe that's what United should be doing? It should be world news when United go and sign a superstar, and that's what's frustrating. Why can Chelsea offer him that much money? Why can Chelsea do this? City have gone and done it without Elliot Anderson. We keep getting the excuse, it's a World Cup year. Tottenham have just signed Tonali, and they give him top money. They've signed Fernandez, and it feels like we're steps behind, and we're being told this is the right way to do. This is the right way to do it. If Spurs would have signed Tielemans and Santos, and we'd have got Tonali and Fernandez, we'd be going, oh well, yeah, you can have him. You can have Tielemans and Santos. We've got these two lads. This is brilliant. I feel like we've lost out. The Morgan Rogers one, if that news had come through, United have agreed a deal with Aston Villa, 117 million, we'd be on here now going, I can't believe that's a great signing. That's brilliant. Now we can push on and we can challenge for the Champions League. We can challenge for the title. We're gonna, and now we're looking at it going, Chelsea have just got him. We've got Cole Palmer there as well. That's another one that we're going to struggle for top four. If we only get, and now, but as we've just done, we've spoke centre-back partnerships week. We need a left-back. We've always needed a right-back. We still need a proper centre midfield signing to come in. We're talking about the left-wing position there. We're saying Dorgu and Cunha are the main ones. I've already said that's not good enough to win you a league. We still need a striker. Ahmad's on about leaving on the right wing, and Bumo didn't look great at the weekend. So now you look at it and going, with these four lads that have come in that I've spoken about, are we going to struggle for European football again? And they've done this before, the ownership, haven't they? We've got top four before, and they've never kicked on and got what we needed to go and challenge for everything that we need to. And then we miss out on it again. Then we sack the manager, and then we start all over again. Go and do the proper thing in the transfer window. We get wound up here now. They're not doing it, are they? Because we're skint by the sound of it, compared to these other clubs that they're not bothered about financial fair play, not bothered about 115 charges. They're just going to go and spend the money anyway. But United are now shopping at car boots.
Well, the blue side of Manchester are apparently going to drop 100 million on Ayub Buwadi as well, which is mental. Because the market has completely been distorted. But the issue is that you can't just sit by and go, well, we've got to get our bargains and we've got to spend the money correctly in this way, because we can't compete at the top level.
You get left behind, Nathan, don't you?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. You just get left behind. If you are the ones that are penny pinching, you can't attract those top players anymore. It's why we keep hearing the same rhetoric around players that come, like Tielemans. He wanted to come to Manchester United. He pushed for the deal. All right, fair enough. Santos didn't want anywhere else. He wanted to play for Manchester United. That's the type of profile that we want. We want these players that want to play for Manchester United. But at some point, you've got to convince them with numbers as well. Because if you want the best players in the world, then you've got to go out and you've got to go and sign them. Elliot Anderson was the person that Manchester United should have signed. They should have competed with City head-to-head, made a statement, brought him in, and then gone bargain shopping with the rest of the money that you've got. But I mean, he might have already had his heart set on going to Manchester City anyway. You never know these things. It's difficult to understand that side of it. However, what it felt like as a Manchester United fan is that they just went, all right, okay, see you later then. You go there. Oh, you're going to
same with Tonali, same with Matheus Fernandez. Same with those two lads. I think they frustrate me even more because we were all saying that they're top signings. And all right, Spurs, I'm hearing rumours, Spurs have overpaid, Spurs are panicking, Spurs, they're doing this. Well, they've gone and got two centre midfielders that are Premier League proven.
Yeah.
Tonali's already shown that he's probably Champions League level. They're what we needed. Okay, well, I wouldn't be saying, we've given 250 grand a week, we've overpaid. Okay, less. I said, we've got two brilliant centre midfielders here now. And what we're talking about is Tonali, Tielemans. You'd say Tonali's better, wouldn't you? The Matheus Fernandez one, you can kind of go, you'd probably take Tielemans over him, to be fair, wouldn't you? Because of
Mm.
the level that he's played at in the past. But then the Andre Santos, when you go, just because he's on less wages, it just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I'm getting frustrated at the transfer window again. And then what we're also being shown is, look at this fancy new kit over here. Don't worry about these squad.
Yeah.
It's all right. Look at this fancy new kit. And it does my head in.
Yeah.
It just winds me up. But I'm just hoping there's something in the background being cooked up. I really am.
What signing could Manchester United make that would make you happy right now? Like, as in, and the thing is, with Manchester United fans, with all of us, we're constantly we're geared towards, right, next one. Who's coming next? Because that's just the nature of the transfer window, right? You want to see that your club is moving, is making positive strides. You want to make sure that Manchester United are going in the right direction. Is there a signing that they could sign today that would make you shut up until the season starts, where you go, right, fair enough. You go do what else you need to do. But yeah, that to me, that is top.
I was just thinking off the top of my head then. I have to lower my expectations because of the wage bracket, because they're not going to give people. If I said Harry Kane, they're not going to get him because of the money that they're willing to offer. So I think I said in the chat the other day, if we got Lewis Hall, Kone, and Somerville, I'd kind of go.
But that's filling out the squad. I get that. I understand. But I'm talking about one player that Manchester United could go out and buy. Let's not use the they've got this wage cap. Yeah. Let's use they need this player. He's going to change everything. Who do they go out and get that would make you go, right, brilliant, superb, get at it? That would reinstall your trust in Ineos approaching this in the right way?
I'm thinking straight away. I'm thinking of a forward, and I'm thinking goals. I'll say Cole Palmer, someone like that. If United went in and said, "Right, we'll give you 100 million for Cole Palmer," would that shut me up? Probably not.
Exactly. I was thinking the exact same thing. I thought, no,
probably not. No, probably. I can't think of one player that would make me then go, right, we're ready to win the title now. I can't think of one.
So the one that I would go for, exactly. Like, but I'm talking about one where you go, it's an Elliot Anderson level of money, Morgan Rogers level of money. The only one that I would even consider at this point and be like, right, okay, yep, they've got it, they know what they're doing, and that would be Tchouaméni from Real Madrid. If you go in and you say, we've bought an established French international who's been playing at Real Madrid, who's won a lot, and he's coming in and he's going to be the central midfield pivot alongside Tielemans, alongside Kobbie Mainoo, alongside Andre Santos, I'd be like, right, that's it. Well done. 8.5, 9 out of 10 for the rest of the transfer window, lads.
Is he though? I watched him in the World Cup, Nathan, and he looked awful. I'm honest. He didn't look good enough. I'm not. His name keeps getting thrown at me, and the more I watch him, the more I'm not convinced. But I get what you're saying. It's a big name. I can't think of many other top names. One player that comes in and makes United where we need to be.
And maybe this is the problem. Maybe this is the problem for all of us as Manchester United fans. What we're waiting for is a player that doesn't actually exist. Tchouaméni is just my example of who it would make my stress levels come down if Manchester United had basically brought him in. You know, then I'm like, right, okay, well, we've got a defensive midfielder and we can move on. Someone like Matheus Cunha, United have already said, or it's rumoured that maybe they would bid for him. But again, the numbers that Roma want, probably not going to suit Manchester United or Ineos. So, you know, that's why we're going for someone like an Andre Santos. That's why we're activating the release clause for Youri Tielemans as well. I think if you think about it logically, we just want a big signing. It doesn't matter what else is under the tree at Christmas. If you've got a massive package there that's waiting to be opened, not like that, but it's got a big bow on it, you'd be like, Yes, amazing. Christmas is made. Here we go. Doesn't matter about the other
Lewis
stuff now.
Hall, Lewis Hall, Alex Scott, and one more. Is that good enough to take us to where the likes of City and Arsenal are? That's the question I'm asking myself now.
I am still of the mindset that Alex Scott. I almost called him Alex Hall. Alex Scott is the player that you buy at the end of the transfer window for 40 million, because he is a good player, solid player, but no frills that you bring in. Appearances off the bench until he can establish himself in the main team. For me, and I know this is going to sound really harsh, is the English Scott McTominay.
Oh, that's harsh, that Nathan. I think Alex Scott's a bit better than that. Yeah.
McTominay was good for Manchester United. He had Rasmus Højlund in front of him.
Alex
Every
Scott's
time
a
he
better
went into the
footballer.
box, I don't know. Has
Do
he
you know
won,
what?
has he won Serie A? Has he won Serie A? Has he got player?
Yeah. Show us your badge. Show us your badge, Alex Scott. Where is it? I think what this all boils down to, and I think the weekend showed it as well, that Bruno Fernandes is our hopes of everything, isn't it? If there's no Bruno Fernandes in this squad, we're really going to struggle. Please, Ineos, get us some proper top players through the door.
How does the Marcus Rashford saga end? He's been in talks about coming back to Manchester United. He's in talks about coming back and being part of the Irish. I think they're in Dublin, aren't they, for a training camp towards the end of pre-season. And there's the reports are suggesting that he's going to be back in the mix during that period. He had a decent World Cup, didn't do himself any harm with that, putting himself in the shop window. He had a very, very, I'm going to say very good time at Barcelona. I thought he did really well at Barca. I think he got double figures in goals and assists, in both goals and assists, potentially.
Oh, no, I don't think he did. But...
No? He clearly doesn't want to play for Manchester United anymore, because if he did, he'd be back and there wouldn't be any questions about it. But how do you see this saga ending? Because it feels like even Manchester United don't even know.
When you asked me this last night, I put, shall I tell you what I put? In tears and disappointment is what I put underneath it. Just to be optimistic. But the Marcus Rashford thing, we don't know what we're going to get. And he did have a good World Cup, and I was calling for him to come on because he's better than Anthony Gordon. And I can't believe Barcelona spent that amount of money on Anthony Gordon. It's a bit of a mad one. But when they could have had Marcus Rashford for that much, that might tell us something about the Marcus Rashford and where his mindset is, that Barcelona looked at him, had him. He had a decent season. I won't go as far as saying he had a very good season for Barcelona, but they've said no. They've gone no.
It's
so
the money,
is there
though,
still
mate.
some?
It's the money. It's the money.
Well,
they don't
you're
want to
not
pay
telling
300 bags.
What did they pay for Anthony Gordon? 80 odd million. They could have had Marcus Rashford for, what was the figure again?
35.
30. Right. So there's 50 million there. Surely that covers Marcus Rashford's wage. That would do.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter.
There's no sell on. There's no sell on with that. When he turns 29 this year, and Anthony Gordon is still in his pomp, ready to reach his peak, potentially at Barcelona. So I think all of those factors add up to Gordon being a better signing for that. When you think about taking on a 28, 29-year-old who you're not 100% set on in the first place, and you're considering that he's not going to drop his salary, which is apparently the reports coming out is that he wants that 300 grand, and he's entitled to it because that's what Manchester United gave him. So he's entitled to go around to any club that wants to sign him and say, this is what my salary is, and I'm not coming down from it. Do Barcelona want to do that? No, they've made that clear. They're not going to come back in for him at the end of the transfer window. But for what you were saying about it ending in tears, I cannot help but feel that he's going to be in this team. Carrick is going to do everything. He's going to do whatever is possible to bring him back in, integrate him into the squad. And for some reason, Just given his track record, he's going to throw it back in his face. And by Christmas, he'll be out of that team and he'll be back in the January transfer window.
When we don't know what Michael Carrick's man management skills are like, this will test him, won't it? And whether Carrick has said, "No, I want him back. I know the kid. I know what he can do. Let me deal with him." Can Carrick turn him around and be that player that he was? I'm looking at his stats there. You are right. He played 43 games, scored 13 goals, and got 10 assists, which is a good season. So
Yeah.
I'll ask you now: if Marcus Rashford does come back and is in the Manchester United squad, because as we've seen over the World Cup, he is good enough. He has got it in him. He has got the ability, Marcus Rashford, and he showed it at United. In what's a good season? What would we then go, Marcus Rashford? Yeah, he's had a good season there. Would it be 10 goals, 10 assists, similar to what Cunha did last season? Or because in his last season at Manchester United, Marcus Rashford got the stats there. He played 15 matches and got 4 goals, 1 assist. The season before that, 33 matches, 7 goals, 2 assists. That's the reason why we've said, well, it's not good enough, Marcus. It wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough for the last 3 seasons at United. He had that one good season, didn't he? Got his contract, and then his form just completely dropped off. And he didn't look interested. Obviously, didn't want to be there. Wanted a move. I've said before, we don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but the proof is there in the stats that he wasn't good enough for Manchester United. So what makes us now think, oh, he's had one decent season at Barcelona to come back, and now all of a sudden he is good enough? It's so many questions, though, Nathan.
I don't think there's anything, and I think most Manchester United fans would probably be in the same boat as the two of us. Like, there's no desire to bring Marcus Rashford back to the club. It's more of a make, do, amend, and this goes back to what we were talking about in the previous segment, where we were saying about Ineos presenting average purchases as top boys, and I'm not saying that sounds disrespectful to Yuri Tillemans and Andre Santos. It's not that. I'm just talking about in the grand scheme of things. Marcus Rashford does not want to play for Manchester United anymore. That's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. If Barcelona came in for him tomorrow, he'd be gone. He definitely wouldn't want to stay around. If PSG came in for him tomorrow, he'd be gone. Because that's exactly what he wants to do. He doesn't want to be back in Manchester. Maybe he doesn't want to be back in Manchester because he knows that he would fall back into those old traps. Maybe he knows that comfy pair of slippers of seeing the same people, hanging around with the same folk, doing the same things in and out that he's done throughout his entire career, they're going to lead him back to the bad stuff. It's like Conor McGregor, when we was talking about him previously off air, he's an extreme example, but temptation was all around him. And, whatever you think about Conor McGregor, at the height of his game, he was a devastating MMA fighter. Then money got to him. Then he turned into, I'll bleep it out, but then he turned into a person that you would basically not want to leave family members around because you don't know if they're going to get punched or wrestled. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen with Conor McGregor. Whether you believe him or not, he's tried to get away from that and to take up MMA again. Failed ACL, MCL, he's done. He's like, his legs are done. But he needed to be back in that because he was scared of the temptation that was going to kick on. Marcus Rashford, if you believe the rumours that were going around, and they're obviously all salacious, but he wasn't having the best time off the pitch. It all came to a head, obviously, under Eric Ten Hag. Was it under Ten Hag? When they was in Belfast and he turned up late, and then Ten Hag.
I was going to say,
yeah,
he went to the pub, didn't he?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the tip of the iceberg, apparently, if you believe what is being said. And it's not just me saying that, like, just trying to bring it out there. There's plenty of other parents from youth team players that know what happened. There's reporters that know what happened. Ineos have done well to keep a lid on the more salacious side of things. But at the core of all of this is whether or not Marcus Rashford actually wants to play for Manchester United anymore. And for me, he doesn't. And that's going to be the big thing. Will I cheer him if he scores? Yes, I will. Because anyone in a Manchester United shirt, we give our support to. But I feel like before he can even step back onto that pitch for Manchester United, something needs to be said. He needs to do some sort of press conference alongside Michael Carrick. He needs to explain where his head was before. He needs to show that he's completely committed to Manchester United. Because the first game that we see him, shoulders slumped, walking around the pitch, not chasing, not tracking back, the whole thing is going to blow up again. And everyone is going to get on Michael Carrick's back for trying to force him into the team. Ineos are going to get pelters as well. And then Rashford's going to get booed. And he's going to be like, what am I doing back here? Something needs to be done before he can get back on that pitch. But I want to believe that it ends with a happy ending in that he's back at United and he sees out his career at Manchester United, scoring loads of goals, getting up the all-time scorer chart, and just finding that fun in playing for Manchester United again. But unfortunately, his track record suggests, like you said, very succinctly, as I've taken 2 minutes to actually say, it's probably going to end in tears, right?
Yeah, it's I said to you that Marcus Rashford has got the ability, just going off ability only, to come into this United team and be a danger off that left-hand side, because he's got exactly what we're missing. We're looking at profiles of Rafael Leao, Barcola, players like this, wingers. Marcus Rashford has got the ability to be as good, if not better than them. He's got the ability on that left wing to go in and score 15 goals for me next season. Play attacking football, play on a counter attack, which is what Michael Carrick will do, and score goals. If he scores enough goals for us to win another title, for us to win a Champions League, he automatically becomes a United hero, doesn't he? If he comes in and has a Van Persie-esque season, wins the title for United, we're all going, brilliant. And I think that's what we all want. We all not bothered about winning. We want Marcus Rashford to succeed at Manchester United, but the history tells us otherwise. And it's like we've been burnt already, and we're scared again just to go all. I'm backing, because we have seen, as you said, the shoulder slump. I think it was a work rate thing. I think it was a confidence thing. His confidence was completely gone. Whether that's been built up again since he's gone to Barcelona and come back. And I thought of the World Cup, he looked really confident. Little nutmegs, shots from 30 yards, looked of danger. I just want to see that Marcus Rashford. And I'm not convinced we will when he comes back.
Maybe he's not completely innocent in all of this, or it's not just him that's the problem here. Manchester United mismanaged him. Let's be clear about that. In the way that they gave him that contract, in the way that they built him up, and then in the way that they basically eventually threw him out of the club. He's working under, was it 5 different bosses that he's worked under? Like, that's not stability. Like that's not stability at all.
Also, I was going to say, he was in such a garbage United squad, wasn't he? He was probably looking around and going, I don't want to play with this lot. What am I doing? I'm better than this. And that could be another thing he was thinking about. And now he might be looking at it. And Carrick's gone in there and said, look, if I bring you into it, you've got Bruno Fernandes in the right position. You've got Cunha, who will help you. You've got Mbeumo on the other side. You've got Sesko there, who will help you score goals. Play off him. Play off Sesko with the flick-ons with your pace. Carrick might see something in him going, I can get Marcus Rashford here firing in this front line. And it is an addition. If you take away all the history, all the past, on ability only, Marcus Rashford should be good enough in this United team for us not to go and splurge money on a Rafael Leao, etc. Like I keep saying, it makes us scared to just go all in and say, yes, I'm going to back Rashford, because he's let us down before.
Yeah. And I think that is fair. One thing that we didn't actually mention before when we was talking about the Ineos stuff, and Marcus Rashford is obviously included in this as well, is that there was a comment left on YouTube where you're currently watching this. If you are listening to it, you can watch our faces on YouTube if you're into that type of thing. But if he's pulling his face, you get to see Cropper doing that. They basically put a message under one of the shorts that we put out, and they were saying that Carrick is just a patsy for Ineos, basically saying that he's going to get found out. They're giving him these terrible signings like Andre Santos and Yuri Tillemans, and basically saying that he's just going along with it and bringing Marcus Rashford back in because it saves money in the long run and they don't have to buy another player and negotiations and agents' fees and things like that. They're saying that, he's just there to do their bidding and that he probably doesn't want Marcus Rashford back. Would you subscribe to that idea, or do you think that Michael Carrick is genuine in his ability to rehabilitate Marcus Rashford?
put yourself in Michael Carrick's shoes, and as you said earlier, if this doesn't go right in the first 2 games, it's a story. Everyone's on it.
Mm.
Everyone's all over it, and it puts Michael Carrick under pressure. No, he probably would, if he's honest, he probably would think, I don't need that hassle. I don't need that pressure from a kid that's coming in. And I think that's why that clause was there. I think it's over now, is it? Is it over
Yeah.
until the end of the transfer window? I think it's finished now, isn't it? The clause. I think that's why it was put there to be like, right, yeah, let's get him out. Let's start afresh, and we'll invest the money elsewhere. But if people don't come in and buy him, no, he's a United player, and you have to make some
Mm.
sort of use of him. And I think he can make use of him. Just hopefully, with a bit of man management, he can turn it around. But yeah, just back to the question. If you're Michael Carrick, no, I think he probably would want to cut ties, crack on with the money. And so would Ineos.
Let's hope he doesn't turn into a Chelsea Winston Bogarde situation where Rashford is still at the club, but just doing community stuff around the Salford and Manchester area. Sorry, go on. What was you going to say?
It could be worse. We could still have Garnacho at the club. So think about it like that.
Off to Roma, apparently. Off to Roma.
Off.
Yeah, just
Whatever.
off somewhere. You backed him to have retired in a couple of years' time, so let's see if that pans out. And on that bombshell, that brings the show to a close for another week. We've got the Rosenborg is Friday at 5 p.m. I think UK time, so 7 p.m. I think, is it 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Dubai
8
time.
p.m.
Yes.
8 p.m. for you.
But just before we go though, before we wrap up here, is there a player that you'd like to see a bit more of in that game against Rosenborg?
I'd like to see Jim Thwaites. I keep saying it. I would like to see him in there. Just get a little run out. See if JJ Gabriel's available for that game. I'm not quite sure if he is. In the pre-seasons, I like to see the kids get a run out just to see what standard up to. The likes of Dan Gore, I thought he did right when he came on at weekend. We've not really signed much that a new signing where you think, oh, brilliant, get him in there. Santos, we'll see what he's like with a few more the other players coming back. Get the kids in there.
I would like to see Noah Ajayi if that is even possible. I don't know. I don't think he was part of the squad, was he, for the last trip?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He might be away with Germany. But Thompson as well, new kid. Let's see what he's all about. Get him in a United shirt. Just let's see what he's all about. Might take the world by storm. You never know.
He might do. He might do. Right. Well, we will definitely see this time next week whether or not Thompson or any of those boys played. Until then, do make sure that you subscribe. Do make sure that you like this video and click the little bell at the side, because then you'll get to know whenever we post something new. Cropper's absolutely flabbergasted. He has got no idea what bell's being clicked here because he doesn't use YouTube.
Leave my bell alone. Leave my bell alone.
Good God. Right. Okay. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll speak to you again soon.